Hey everybody, my name is Josh Linville. I am the Vice President of the Fertilizer Division for StoneX Financial Inc. FCM Division. And this is the intro video for what I guess is going to be my new YouTube channel. So I've been doing quite a bit of social media type stuff for a while, mainly focused in on Twitter. And here recently, the company gave the blessing, go ahead and upgrade the media room. Our media department asked us, hey, you've already got this following on Twitter. Would you be willing to go ahead and do something as far as YouTube? Just go ahead and give it a trial. I'm going to tell you the truth. Wasn't real thrilled with the idea. I hate nothing more than seeing myself on video, hearing myself on the radio, things like that. But told me, you know what? I'll give it a go. They did a phenomenal job on the media room, so I figure I at least owe them that. So in this video, we're not really going to go through the markets or anything. I just want to give a little bit of what my expectation is for this. And the first is I am not here to make decisions for you. I don't want anybody coming here and thinking, oh, Josh has got all the answers. Josh knows exactly what's going to happen with all the markets all the time. I'd like to think I've got a better idea more times than not, but I'm not perfect. And truth be told, if I knew all the answers, I'm not sure I'm messing around with the YouTube channel. I'm probably sitting on a beach house down in the Caribbean somewhere enjoying my life. I don't have a beach house in the Caribbean, so that gives you a little bit of idea of my track record. But what I do have is a unique point of view on the marketplace. I've been in the industry now for a little bit over 20 years. I think 22. I graduated back in 2002. And I've seen this marketplace from a lot of different angles. I spent the first 10 years working for a company here in Kansas City that focused on U.S. logistics. And after that, I worked for a U.S. domestic nitrogen manufacturer. So I got to see the world from their point of view. From there, moved down to Tampa with my family, moved to a house very close to the beach, and worked for who at the time was the world's largest fertilizer trader. Great experience. Spent a little bit of time over in Australia. So got to see the world market from a little bit different point of view as well, and ultimately came back to StoneX, where I tried to compile this point of view and kind of get it out to the marketplace. And the problem that I've always seen with fertilizer, something that's been driving me nuts for decades, is that this is a market that doesn't give information very freely. This is a market that likes to hold on to that information. It does not like to share it. And so, from a farming perspective, you're sitting there looking at the highest cost on a lot of the acres out there, and you know next to nothing about it. And I don't think that's fair, and I don't think that's right. I'm not saying that, knowing more about what's going on will help you buy better or worse, but it will give you some sort of insight as far as what you need to be watching for, why things are doing what they're doing. And hopefully we'll be able to show some opportunities that are out there that we can take advantage of. So you're going to see this disclaimer slide a lot. This is what the compliance department at our company requires us to do because of regulations. And a lot of folks like to kind of glance over it and not pay a lot of attention to it. But effectively what this is saying, it's a very important message. This is basically saying, this is commentary. This is my point of view. Ultimately, when it comes down to it, the decision is yours. And that's what we need to continue to keep in mind. In the ag industry, I would say 95+% of the people in it are just out there trying to make a positive difference. They are trying to help. Now, sometimes does that go sideways? Absolutely. But generally speaking, they are trying to do just that. I would like to think that I'm one of them. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, you're the one that has to answer. You're the one that's in charge of the profitability, how the farm works, answering to the banks or whoever else out there. You need to own that decision. And a lot of these things, I'm going to talk about it from a high level. You've got to go talk to your local suppliers and figure out what does this mean for my local marketplace. So please always keep that in mind. You are ultimately in charge of it. Nobody on my side should ever be telling you what you should do. I like to think we're going to give you insight as what's going on, but you've got to own that decision. And a little bit of background as far as what's our position. When you're in the markets, when you are doing anything with it, you generally have a bias, whether it is consciously or subconsciously. And I like to be open with what our positions are. Number one, we don't handle physical fertilizer. I am not long or short anything physical fertilizer. So I don't have that bullish or bearish tint to my storyline. We do not hold paper positions. We typically back to back it. We go do that on the behalf of our customer base. So I'm not long or short fertilizer paper. And I'll tell you straight up, I have not allowed myself to trade fertilizer stocks. Now, left a lot of money on the table the last several years. You've seen where prices went. We went to sky high values back in early 2022. A lot of fertilizer stocks went with them. I stayed out of it because I want to make sure I stay as unbiased in this market as humanly possible. So that's going to be something we continue to keep in place. If that ever changes, I'll be upfront with you. I'll tell you exactly where I am because I feel like having an unbiased view on the marketplace is more important. It helps me do a little bit better job. So, as far as where I come from, like I said, I give you a little bit of a work background, but I've actually got a little bit of a history in the farm. Grew up in Northwest Missouri, just south of St. Joseph, Missouri. We did a little bit of acres. We, makes mainly row crops like corn, bean, things like that. Had some cattle, and actually, we had tobacco back when it was still something that was the allotments were controlled by the government on how much you could raise, how much you could sell, and backbreaking work. Did a little bit of the hay bales in the field, stuff like that. So grew up knowing what it meant to actually do hard physical work, and the tobacco was kinda unique. It's not something our little area that we had, it was the only place west of Mississippi that grew it, around west of Missouri. Some of you guys might know that, but it's actually the thing that got me through college. My grandfather, he had half an acre. He gave it to me. My dad paid for the inputs and never once asked for a dime, and so my grandpa gave it to me, my dad paid for the inputs. All I had to do was just help, and I got all the, income from it. Fantastic way to farm if you can get into it, but that helped me get through college. Without that, I mean, would have come out with that with a lot more debt, a lot more, overhead. So, I've grown up on the farm side, I've seen it, I've learned a lot of lessons as far as what it means down to the farm gate, as far as the quality goes, the information, things like that. So, again, just going back to it all, the idea behind this YouTube channel is going to just be that. Try to give a little bit more information, and a lot of it is going to go around what the world market is doing, because again, we like to look at it from our perspective, and what we're doing here is very important, but a lot of what's going on is determined by the world. Today, urea values are firm, and that's because of what's going on in Egypt and a little bit of what's going on with China. It has nothing to do with what's going on here in the US and North America. So we were going to try and open our eyes a little bit to that. We do talk a little bit in terms of ratio. I like to look at farming from a very simplistic point of view, and I like to look at it from a manufacturing point of view. And what I mean by that is farming is effectively you're trying to grow bushels. End of the day, that is what you're trying to do. So rather than try and call the low the fertilizer market and the high the grain market, we should be looking at that differential between the two, because a high fertilizer price might not be a terrible thing if the grain price is even higher, and vice versa. So we like to look at that value proposition between the two of them. Effectively, we're trying to say how many bushels of, let's say, corn are we spending to pay for that ton of urea, that ton of phosphate, that ton of potash? And you ask anybody in the world, would you rather spend more bushels or less on the same ton of whatever the input is? I've yet to have anybody get it wrong. Everybody comes back and says, "Well, I'd rather spend less bushels." And we look at it from that perspective. So we're going to spend a lot of time looking at it that way. So, guys, ultimately, that's what we'll be doing here. If you ever have any questions, go to the website, stonex.com. You can actually reach me, josh.linville at stonex.com. And like I said, Twitter, if you're not on there, it's a great resource. Try to put information out there daily. My handle is at jlinvillefert. Love to hear from you. Like I said, guys, hopefully this will be a help, and we appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon.